Hey there, aviation enthusiasts and curious minds. Welcome back to the channel, where we dive deep into the machines, mysteries, and marvels that shape our world. Today, we're strapping in for an epic journey through the skies, with one of the most jaw-dropping fighter jets ever conceived, the Sukhoi Su-47 Berkut. This Russian experimental jet, with its futuristic design and mind-bending capabilities, is a story that blends cutting-edge science, Cold War history, and the relentless human drive to push boundaries. So grab a seat, maybe a snack, and let's soar into the fascinating world of the Su-47. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll see why this jet is more than just a plane. It's a symbol of ambition, innovation, and what happens when engineers dare to dream big. Let's kick things off with the star of the show, the Su-47's unmistakable looks. Yeah, if you've ever seen a picture of this jet, you know it's not your average fighter. The first thing that grabs you is its wings. Unlike most aircraft, where the wings sweep backward like an arrowhead, the Su-47's wings sweep forward, giving it this sleek, almost predatory silhouette. It's like something ripped straight out of a sci-fi movie. And that's no accident. The forward-swept wing design is so rare that it instantly sets the Su-47 apart from the pack. But why go with such an unconventional shape? To understand that, we need to dive into the science of aerodynamics. And don't worry, I'll keep this as smooth as a clear sky flight. The forward-swept wing isn't just about looking cool, though, let's be honest, it nails that part. It's about performance. When a jet flies, air flows over the wings, creating lift to keep it aloft. In traditional backward-swept wings, like those on an F-15 or a MiG-29, the airflow tends to separate at the wingtips first. When the plane pitches up sharply, this can lead to a stall where the plane loses lift, and in a worst-case scenario, starts tumbling out of control. Not exactly ideal in a dogfight. Forward-swept wings flip this dynamic. The airflow stays attached to the wing's surface longer, especially at high angles of attack. Think of the jet pointing its nose way up while still moving forward. This means the Su-47 could pull off maneuvers that would leave other jets gasping for air, figuratively and literally. Picture this. You're a pilot in a high-stakes dogfight, twisting and turning through the sky. Your opponent's jet is fast, but you're in the Su-47. You crank the nose up to a crazy angle, something that should make any plane stall, but your jet just keeps gripping the air, letting you swing around and lock onto the target before they even know what hit them. That's the kind of agility the Su-47 was built for. It's like giving a gymnast the ability to bend in ways others can't. But there's a catch. Forward-swept wings come with serious challenges. The wings endure massive stress during high-speed maneuvers, twisting in ways that could snap lesser materials. So how did Sukhoi pull it off? That's where we get into the tech wizardry, but let's hold that thought and rewind to the jet's origins. Understanding where the Su-47 came from gives us a whole new appreciation for its design. The story starts in the Soviet Union during the early 1980s, a time when the Cold War was still a high-stakes chess game between superpowers. The U.S. was rolling out beasts like the F-15 Eagle and F-16 Falcon jets, designed to dominate the skies. The Soviets weren't about to sit back and watch. They tasked Sukhoi, one of the top design bureaus, with creating a fighter that could not only match but outclass Western jets. The project, initially coded as the S-32 and later the S-37, was born out of this intense rivalry. But here's the kicker. Su-47 wasn't meant to be a frontline fighter. It was a technology demonstrator, a flying laboratory to test ideas that could shape the future of Russian aviation. Think of it as a concept car for jets, bold, experimental, and not necessarily destined for mass production. This context is crucial because it explains why the Su-47 was allowed to be so wild. Without the pressure to churn out hundreds of units, Sukhoi's engineers could take risks, And boy, did they. The jet first took to the skies in late 1997, and when it debuted at the Paris Air Show, it turned heads. Aviation geeks, military analysts, and even rival engineers were buzzing. The Su-47, officially nicknamed Berkut, Russian for Golden Eagle, wasn't just a jet. It was a statement. It screamed, "We're not afraid to rethink everything," but like any bold experiment, it faced hurdles. And those hurdles tell us a lot about the delicate balance between ambition and practicality. Let's circle back to those wings and the tech that made them possible. Forward-swept wings might sound like a dream for maneuverability, but they're a nightmare for structural engineers. The twisting forces during flight are so intense that early designs in aviation history, like the German Junkers 287 from World War II, could only experiment with the concept in limited ways. Fast forward to the Su-47, and materials science had caught up. Sukhoi used advanced composite materials, think carbon fibers and other lightweight, super strong stuff, to build wings that could flex without breaking. These composites weren't just about strength. They were tailored to resist the specific twisting forces of forward-swept wings, almost like a custom suit for the jet. Now, composites are cool, but they're only half the story. The Su-47 also leaned heavily on a fly-by-wire system, which is basically a computer acting as the middleman between the pilot and the jet's controls. Here's why that matters. Forward-swept wings make a plane inherently unstable, like trying to balance a pencil on its tip. In a traditional jet, that instability would be a death sentence. But the Su-47's fly-by-wire system was like a digital guardian angel, making tiny adjustments thousands of times a second to keep the jet steady. This allowed pilots to push the jet to its limits without worrying about it spinning out of control. It's a bit like driving a supercar with traction control. You can floor it around corners and the tech keeps you from wiping out. This blend of materials and electronics didn't just make the Su-47 possible. It influenced later jets like the Su-35 and Su-57. Russia's more conventional but still badass fighters. The lessons learned from the Su-47's wings and control systems trickled down, proving that even a one-off prototype can leave a lasting legacy. But let's not get too lost in the tech weeds. There's a human side to this story that's just as gripping. Who were the people behind this jet? And what drove them to create something so audacious? Imagine being an engineer at Sukhoi during the waning days of the Soviet Union. Your country's economy is crumbling, funding is drying up, and yet you're tasked with building a jet that could redefine air combat. That's the kind of pressure that breeds either failure or genius. Sukhoi's team, led by figures like chief designer Mikhail Simonov, chose genius. Simonov was no stranger to bold projects. He'd helped shape the Su-27, a jet that's still a legend in aviation circles. But the Su-47 was a whole new beast. It demanded not just technical skill, but a willingness to challenge decades of conventional wisdom. Why stick with backward-swept wings when forward ones could unlock new possibilities? That kind of thinking takes guts. The human psychology here is fascinating. Designing something like the Su-47 requires a mix of confidence and humility. Confidence to believe you can rewrite the rules, and humility to know you'll face setbacks. Engineers and test pilots alike had to grapple with uncertainty. Every test flight was a gamble, pushing the jet to see how far it could go without crossing the line into disaster. There's a story, unconfirmed but widely whispered, that during early tests, the Su-47's wings flexed so much under stress that onlookers thought they'd snap. Yet the jet landed safely, proving the design's resilience. Whether that tale's true or not, it captures the high-stakes vibe of the project. Speaking of test pilots, Let's give a shout out to the unsung heroes who strapped into the Su-47's cockpit. Flying an experimental jet isn't like hopping into a proven fighter. There's no manual for what to do when a one-of-a-kind prototype starts acting up at Mach 2. These pilots needed nerves of steel and a deep trust in the engineers' work. Their feedback was critical, helping refine the jet's systems and uncover quirks that no simulator could predict. It's a reminder that even the most advanced tech still relies on human skill and instinct. Now let's shift gears and explore how the Su-47 fits into the broader history of aviation. The forward-swept wing concept didn't start with Sukhoi. It's got roots going back to the 1940s, when engineers in Germany and later the US toyed with the idea. The US even built its own forward-swept test jet, the Grumman X-29, in the 1980s. Like the Su-47, the X-29 was a tech demonstrator, not a production fighter. But there's a key difference. The X-29 was smaller, more of a proof of concept, while the Su-47 was built on the scale of a real combat jet, burrowing pirouettes like the Savaizer, the fuselage and landing gear from the Su-27 family to cut costs. This made the Su-47 feel closer to a fighter you could actually deploy, even if that was never the plan. Comparing the two jets is like comparing concept sketches to a working prototype. The X-29 showed forward-swept wings could work. The Su-47 showed they could dominate. It's no coincidence that the Su-47's debut came at a time when Russia was eager to flex its technological muscle. The Soviet Union was gone, but the Russian aerospace industry wanted the world to know it could still compete with the West. The Su-47 was a bold middle finger to anyone who thought Russia's best days were behind it. Let's take a quick detour into nature, because believe it or not, the Su-47's design has some surprising parallels with the animal kingdom. The jet's nickname, Berkut, isn't just a cool moniker. It's a nod to the golden eagle, a bird known for its agility and power. Golden eagles can dive at speeds that'd make your head spin, twisting midair to snatch prey with pinpoint precision. Sound familiar? The Su-47's ability to maneuver at extreme angles mirrors that kind of natural acrobatics. Engineers often look to nature for inspiration. And while there's no direct evidence Sukhoi studied eagles for the Su-47, the connection feels almost poetic. Both the jet and the bird are built to dominate their domains, using every trick in the book to outmaneuver their rivals. This nature-tech crossover gets even cooler when you think about biomimicry, the idea of copying nature's designs for human use. Forward-swept wings, in a way, mimic how birds adjust their wings for tight turns or steep dives. The Su-47's canards, those small winglets near the nose, add another layer, letting the jet fine-tune its pitch like a bird tucking its feathers. It's a reminder that even our most advanced machines often owe a debt to the natural world, whether we realize it or not. Back to the jet itself. Let's talk about its performance specs, because numbers tell a story of their own. The Su-47 could hit speeds up to Mach 2.21. That's over twice the speed of sound, or about 1,600 miles per hour. Its range was around 2,100 miles, meaning it could cover serious distance without refueling. Climb rate? A blistering 45,000 feet per minute, letting it rocket to altitude faster than most jets could dream of. And it could handle up to 9 Gs, putting insane forces on both the airframe and the pilot. For context, 9 Gs is like feeling 9 times your body weight crushing you into your seat. Most people would black out. Su-47 pilots had to be in peak condition. These stats paint a picture of a jet built for dominance. But here's the twist. The Su-47 was never armed. As a tech demonstrator, it didn't need weapons to prove its point. Still, it had space for an internal weapons bay and 14 hardpoints for missiles, bombs, you name it. If it had gone into production, it could have carried a terrifying arsenal. Imagine a stealthy, hyper-agile jet raining precision-guided munitions from angles no one saw coming. That was the dream, at least. Now let's zoom out and look at the Su-47 through a space lens, not outer space. but the strategic space of global military power. The 1990s were a weird time for Russia. The Cold War was over, NATO was expanding, and Russia was trying to rebuild its identity. The Su-47 wasn't just a jet. It was a symbol of resilience. Showing it off at air shows was Russia's way of saying, we're still in the game. But the jet story also reflects the era's challenges. Funding dried up after the Soviet collapse, and Sukhoi had to bankroll much of the project itself. That's like a car company building a concept supercar with pocket change. Impressive, but unsustainable. This leads us to one of the sadder parts of the Su-47's tale, why it never went beyond a single prototype. The short version: money, politics, and priorities. The long version is more nuanced. Forward-swept wings, while awesome for agility, aren't perfect. They shine at subsonic and transonic speeds. Think dogfights or tight maneuvers. But at supersonic speeds, backward-swept wings are more efficient. Since modern air combat often involves high-speed engagements or long-range missiles, the Su-47's edge wasn't as game-changing as hoped. Plus, the jet's composites and complex systems made it expensive to maintain, and Russia's military budget in the 1990s wasn't exactly overflowing. There's also the competition angle. While Sukhoi was pouring its heart into the Su-47, another Russian firm, Mikoyan, was working on its own next-gen fighter, the MiG 1.44. Both jets were vying for the same shrinking pool of funds, and neither made it to production. It's a classic case of ambition outpacing resources. By the early 2000s, Russia shifted focus to more practical designs like the Su-35, which could be built in numbers and exported to allies. The Su-47, for all its brilliance, was left as a what could have been. But let's not end on a downer. The Su-47's legacy is alive and well. Its tech paved the way for the Su-57, Russia's first stealth fighter, which uses some of the same fly-by-wire tricks and composite know-how. Even the Su-35, a global export success, owes a debt to the Berkut's aerodynamic lessons. And let's not forget the jet's cultural impact. It's a darling of aviation forums, video games, and model kits. Search online, and you'll find fans geeking out over its sci-fi vibes. There's something about the Su-47 that captures the imagination, like a concept car you wish had hit the streets. Before we wrap up, let's touch on the psychology of why the Su-47 fascinates us. Humans love the underdog, the bold experiment that defies the odds. The Su-47 is that in spades, a jet that could have changed everything but didn't, yet still left its mark. It taps into our craving for innovation, for stories of people pushing past limits. Every time you see a photo of those forward, swept wings, it's a reminder that progress isn't always about winning. Sometimes it's about daring to try. So what's the final takeaway? The Su-47 Berkut is more than a jet. It's a snapshot of a time, a place, and a mindset. It's Cold War rivalry, Russian grit, and engineering audacity rolled into one. It's a lesson in balancing dreams with reality, and a testament to how even a single prototype can ripple through history. Whether you're an aviation nerd or just love a good story, the Su-47 has something for you. It's a golden eagle that soared briefly but left tracks in the sky. We're still following today. Thanks for sticking with me on this wild ride. If you loved diving into the Su-47's world, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what other jets or tech marvels you want me to cover. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies and your curiosity burning. Catch you in the next one.